There we go. Okay. My name is Melissa Ziobro, and I am the Specialist Professor of Public History at Monmouth University in West Long Branch, New Jersey. Today is August 1st, 2021. We are here today with Anthony Rasa for an interview to augment the exhibit Monmouth County 9/11 and its Aftermath. This interview is being recorded with the permission of all participants. Anthony, can you just confirm for me that you do indeed consent to recording and that you understand this interview will live in the public domain?
I consent to this recording and that it will live in the public domain.
Thank you. So can you tell us just briefly about your early life? Where and when were you born and raised?
I was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1970, grew up there for most of my through college, and then moved to Monmouth County in Middletown, New Jersey.
And just briefly, your educational background?
I have a master's, an MBA in management.
Okay. Now, let's bring it up to the month of September 2001. I know from talking to your lovely wife, you were a newlywed and living in Middletown, yes. Right?
Yes, that's correct. We had a little apartment in Middletown, New Jersey, and I was commuting to Manhattan.
Okay. And your work life, who were you employed by commuting to Manhattan?
I worked for the Depository Trust Company. We were located at 55 Water Street, where I worked in human resources.
And roughly how long had you been there?
3 years.
About 3 years? Okay.
By that time, I was there for 3 years.
Okay. And how did you generally get to work? Did you drive in? Did you take a bus? How did you get to work?
I took the train from Middletown train station to Newark, New Jersey, and then took the path into the World Trade Center, and from there walked down to 55 Water Street.
Okay. So let's talk about the day of September 11th. Was this going to be a regular work day for you? And how did the day start, to the best of your recollection?
Well, I could preface it with this. The evening before, I was working on my MBA at Pace University in Lower Manhattan. And I was walking from the campus there to the World Trade Center to get the path to head home that night. So it was probably about 9 o'clock, and I looked up, and it was just it was such a clear night that I remember you could even see stars, which is not usual in New York City. And then I just, went home as usual, but I stopped to look up because right at the towers, it was really, I don't know why, but then like the stars were really bright and stuff. And then the next morning, it was a Tuesday, I think. Yeah. So the day before, my department, we were planning for may sound unusual in New York City, but we were going to have our first company picnic on September 11th. Where I work at 55 Water Street, when it was built, they had a raised park overlooking the East River and the heliport and all that. So we're going to hold an outdoor picnic, and we're going to get the CEO and all the C-suite officers to serve hot dogs, hamburgers, whatever. So we were planning this for weeks. So we were looking forward to a fun day, I would say.
So roughly what time did your day usually start on a work day? What time would you get on the train?
Oh, I think the Middletown, I would get on the train. It was either 7:15 or 7:20 time, like that. And nothing unusual. Got to Newark, got on the path, got up out of the path station from below the World Trade Center, walked down to my office, got up to the 49th floor, started my day, and then our vice president came down and said, "Hey, we have to turn on the radio. They said a little plane crashed into the World Trade Center. We might have to cancel plans today." So we had a clear view of the Trade Center, and I think that that's happened before. No, maybe not. But um, we didn't see it was the first plane that went in, and we didn't know that, and it was hard to tell because the um, the plane crashed on the other side of our view, so we just saw a small trail of black smoke. So, okay, yeah, maybe it was unfortunately a little plane or something, and uh, about a few minutes after that, someone on this side of my office, like was where the corner was, shrieked, and we looked out at those windows and we saw the second plane, and it was really, yeah, we saw that, and it really did it was like people say this and it's true, and it really did at first. Yeah, we saw the whole thing, and it just was so weird because time felt like it slowed down, and I'm looking at this trying to register, and I'm like, this is like am I looking at a movie? What in the world, or what the heck? And I just was transfixed looking at it, and then guys came running down and saying, "Go, go, go!" And we just ran down 49 flights, and my knees were pretty wobbly by the time we got down, and took about, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes to get down because the building was built around the same time in the World Trade Center, so the staircases were narrow, under 3 feet. So it did take some time. And then we were all in the lobby, just, what do we do? What are we doing? And there was a lot of noise and chatter and all that. I mean, it was filled. And I don't think anyone wanted to go outside because we did start seeing smoke coming through down there on Water Street and by Battery Park. It's old New York, so they're not straight, road streets. So it's all like a mishmash of triangles, like, and 5 points, of course, and all that. So we saw this big wall of smoke coming, and we heard crashes and booms, and we were thinking more buildings were exploding. And then they made an announcement that debris was falling from the World Trade Center. Um, and then we heard the tower, the first tower going down, and it was just, so we all went back in, and it was just like waves of uh, smoke, like night and day. Would like that would clear out, and then another wave of this billowing smoke would come down, and then we went outside again, and you were in a war zone because there were I remember there was a New York City bus empty with the door open at the front, and just right onto the, like, driven like onto the sidewalk, and empty, and cars were scattered all over, empty. People walking around dazed, people, I guess, coming from there in soot. And I remember one woman that worked in our office, she had a daughter that worked there, and she just ran up there, and uh, her daughter did survive. Um, there was a lot of uh, confusion, and we stayed there until about 1 o'clock, and there was commotion. What are we gonna do? Are we gonna, our business was tied to the market. We serviced the exchange. We were a depository, so we would follow suit what the exchange would do. And there was all the big wigs were there because I was in HR, and they're like, oh well, it's the New York Stock Exchange. Of course, it's going to be open. And they were there, and I'm like, I was like, are you kidding me? Because I mean, to me, it was the end of the world, so I didn't care what I was saying. It's like, you are kidding me, right? And I don't know, but so, um, and then we went out again, and it started to clear up, and then there was like, we got word that there was some kind of uh, emergency flotilla plan going on. So I remember though emailing people, it was before Facebook and all that. So it was really just the internet and emailing, hey, I'm okay, this and that.
Your email was working?
Email was working,
Okay.
Telephone was working too. And I know a colleague of mine, she was talking to, we were in HR, and one of the health insurance companies we dealt with was in the trade center. And she was on the phone with someone there, and then the phone disconnected. Yeah, so we all had these stories, and I know one guy I worked with, he for some reason he always drove in, and I didn't see him, and then we came back a week later, and it was like, yeah, I saw what happened. I booked it to my car and drove the hell out of there, because that was like within minutes of it happening. But anyway, so about, I think by early in the afternoon, it was really weird. We said, well, you just go home. Everyone could start going home, either walking uptown, walking over bridges, or taking boats to New Jersey. And my friend and I, who were in New Jersey, lived in New Jersey, we decided, well, we might as well go get our stuff. And we took the elevator back up to the 49th floor. When I told my wife this when I got home, she was like, why did you do that? And it's the same thing to my colleagues. His wife too was like, how could you even think of going on an elevator and all that? But then we got out and we walked, and I can't remember what it's called, New York Fast Ferry out of Highlands and Atlantic Highlands.
The C Streak?
C Streak, yeah. Yeah. And, that day, a lot of people realized, oh, yeah, Manhattan's an island. And, so we all got on, and everyone was just dazed. Some people were talking like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Other people were just dazed like myself, and just, minimal conversation. And also on the C Streak, I got on. I forgot his last name, but the pastor of OLPH in downtown Highlands, Our Lady of Perpetual Help, Father Dan, he was on the boat. And it was interesting. I guess he had a badge on. So I guess Highlands had him as I don't know if they deputized him or whatever, but that just felt comforting. And then I remember getting off, they had Port Authority police set up with tables, Middletown police, all sorts of from everywhere, just asking us, did you see anything suspicious? What is your name? Where do you live? What did you see? And all I could say was, I saw 2 planes crash into the World Trade Center. was about it. And I remember my shoes. I just bought these shoes earlier in the summer, and I loved them. And they were just all full of soot. And that was, I just remember that, and going home, and just, well, actually, I ended up at my parents' house. My wife was also she came home by a boat also. just trying to remember. Oh, also when I got off the boat, an administrative assistant from my company was also on the boat, and I mean, I didn't really know her or anything, but my brother and his wife came to pick me up, and she was like, "I live in Matawan. I don't know how I'm going to get home. I can't get hold of anyone." So I said, "Come with me." And I said, "Ralph, this is," I can't even remember her name now, but I introduced her. I said, "Hey, look, do you mind if we drive her up to Matawan?" And it was interesting because even at that time, driving up Route 35 and stuff, there were already people with big flags on their pickup trucks and on street corners with their American flags and all that. And yeah, and then I got home, and then the next day there was a prayer service at church. I went to that, and uh, um, someone said to me there, "Oh, you'll be fine. You'll get back to work, no problem." And I'm like, "No, I don't think so. I can't think about that right now." And then I just remember going home and sleeping for like the rest of the day. And then other things I remember, we would try to go out to, we didn't have work for the week. And being where we lived, my wife worked for the Park Service out at Sandy Hook. We lived at Sandy Hook. So we like could not escape it because you would see that trail of smoke and everything from where we lived. So one day when we drove down to Point Pleasant to go to the beach, go just take our minds off it. But even down to Point Pleasant, you could still see the trail of smoke in front of you. And then I remember just walking we were in Red Bank, and across the street at Riverside Medical Center, there was a mental health center. And I was hearing all over the radio, it's important to talk. There are services open and available. And I just went in and let some things out, and they were very helpful. And then I just remember getting a call every day from work saying, "No, you don't have to report yet." So, but then it was about, I think, a week or a week and a half later, we were cleared to go back in.
And did you resume commuting via the train?
I can't remember that first. No, I did take the train. I did take the Middletown train. Okay. And I remember because you would always take the same train, either it was 7:15, 7:20. Mm-hmm. So, some people you would chat with, you get like a commuting friendship.
Yeah.
And then other people you just see and you just know their faces and all that. So I remember on the platform waiting on the train, just looking at everyone and saying, "Oh, good, he made it," or "Oh, she's still around," or, just all in my head. And, then there were some people I didn't see the first week, and then I would see them. I was like, "Oh, she, he or she is okay." And then, so we couldn't obviously take the path into the World Trade Center. So I had to take it. That's it. Yeah, I actually had to take a different train. My options were either um, to take the train to Hoboken or take the train into Penn Station and then take a train down. So I did both of those that week, and then I just ended up, the easiest thing was just to take the train to Hoboken and get the path from there. No, not the path. I'm sorry. New York Waterway that set up a temporary, I don't know if it was new or temporary as a result, but service to Battery Park, which is a very quick walk to my building. I remember on the boat, there was this huge police presence on the boat that first week. When we got off, it was a lot of Green Army tents set up and National Guard there, all that. So, and then like certain streets for where Ground Zero was, certain streets were just totally blocked off. They made a, you know, and so it was a different walk to work, but it was very weird. They had temporary antennas everywhere, like maybe 10 feet high, all dotted all over Lower Manhattan, because the antennas on the tower were lost, and there was no cell phone coverage. I remember that on the day too. There was no cell coverage. The only people that were able to, I was able to use my hardwire phone for a little bit. I'm sorry if I'm going back, but people that had Nextel, I remember, had no problem using their phone. But I remember antennas and a large military, and then the small park, Bowling Green was a lot of Army tents there. I think they were all National Guard, and they were there 24/7. And then my night classes resumed at Pace, and that was very interesting. They had a whole commentary, we're glad you're back, we hope you're safe, and they were able to let us, if we wanted to drop courses and not do anything, we could do it with no penalties and get refunds and all that. But I only dropped one course, but I just remember being dazed for months after. I mean, I was on the 49th floor, so you look out your window and you just see the pit, or like they also called it the bathtub now, but of where the World Trade Center stood, and you would just see, I was still working there up until January, and there was still smoldering smoke coming out. And then you would see the barges filled with the steel. I remember that.
Now, you just mentioned you stayed with the company until January because you were then impacted right by the layoffs that tore through.
Yeah, there were all sorts of layoffs, and I was impacted by that. So but I kind of looked at it as an opportunity, because then I was able to go to school full time. I was still able to do that. We had some aid and stuff, so I was able to continue that and go full time and get that done sooner. So I mean, it was just really those first few months, and that whole the whole rest of the year was just very difficult. It was just always on your mind.
You survived this traumatic experience and the terrible things you witnessed, but then you have to go back there.
Yeah, and you have to keep moving forward, right? So yeah, it was tough. I remember following up with a lady I worked with closely, and we were together in the lobby at that point. We're just looking at each other, just like, what do we do? And then, she said, well, it's best let's just stay here. Let's get back inside and stay inside. And I actually thanked her for doing that, because I said, if I didn't talk to someone, I think I would have just been standing out there coming all full of dust or whatever. So, and we exchanged stories and the colleagues and stuff we worked with, and then we'd hear things. Yeah. I didn't lose anyone that I knew directly or family, but I know there were quite a few from my high school, quite a few, actually even quite a few from my high school, and I know colleagues where I worked with that lost people as well. So.
Do you feel like 9/11 changed you in any way, your outlook on the world or humanity or anything?
Yeah, it did. I mean, I think it changed. I think anyone that either if you were in the Pentagon or lost family out in Pennsylvania on Flight 93, or just from Manhattan or the New York City area. I don't think you could. I don't think about it every day anymore, but it did change me. I mean, um, you know, the World Trade Center was attacked before, but not on such a scale.
Mm-hmm.
And just like people were saying, COVID is the new normal. Well, 9/11 was the new normal. And that I think it changed a lot of things. Um, I still dread the idea of flying. I'll do it, but I'd rather not. Um, Sometimes certain things, like if I'm in gatherings or places, I think about, this could just, and something could happen. So that sticks with me. But you enjoy what you have in life, and you move forward.
How did you feel about the so-called war on terror that followed 9/11?
Mixed emotions about it. I mean, I've always been very patriotic of our country. Um, I mean, something had to be done, whether it was done properly or hindsight's 2020, and you wish it didn't take such a long slog, or with now Afghanistan wrapping up after 20 years, and then seeing what's happening there. It's like we're at square one again. But at the same time, are we really, is that struggle, is that fight worth it anymore at this point? um I still have mixed emotions about it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad there was a response. I'm glad we did get Obama and that type of stuff.
Well, Anthony, thank you so much. I know that this can't be easy to revisit. Is there anything else that you want to add that we haven't covered?
No, I think that it is, people I know today know was there, and I didn't talk about it much, so I don't like talking about it much, but I do appreciate having this opportunity. Um, and I think that's it.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.